Okay, we're going to reconvene from closed session. Before we move forward, I need to correct something that I forgot to read when we adjourned for closed session. At the 3A, we adjourned to closed session, and the procedural reports were a conference with labor negotiators, public employee discussion, discipline, dismissal, release, conference with legal counsel, and student matters. Now, returning after closed session, I need to report that there is nothing to report because no action was taken. So we will reconvene to the regular meeting at 7:31. Ms. Taxon, would you do flag salute for me, please?
Civility statement, communicate clearly and concisely with respect for the time of others. Listen objectively, carefully, considering the opinions of others. Understand the counterproductive effects of disruptive, demeaning, and intimidating behaviors. Understand and respect district policies and procedures. Maintain a respect for the rich history of the district and the efforts of others who have served in the past.
Closed session, no action was taken, so there is nothing to report about closed session reports.
President.
Yes, Mr. Paul.
There are a lot of people in the audience tonight. Is there an agenda item you all are here for that we have listed very late that would prolong everybody having to stay up and not do their homework and get to bed?
So, school board members, so we have a Golden Spotlight recognition. We have our students, we have some student athletes from High Desert as well as Vasquez, and they are right after 6A, public comment, Golden Spotlight.
Is there any group of individuals that are here for an agenda item to be discussed later? Perfect, thank you.
Public comments recognition, Dr. Paul and Dr. Sahabi.
Any public comment cards at this time? There are none for 6A. Mr. Jorgensen.
Thank you. 6B, Golden Spotlight, Dr. Sahabi.
Yes, sir. So tonight we're recognizing our district's quality athletic programs and our amazing student athletes. Thank you to those who are here this evening with us. We appreciate your time. We'll start with our Mustangs. Our Mustangs girls cross country team survived their season undefeated throughout 2021. We have some slides up there and some wonderful pictures. Thank you, Dr. Murphy and Vasquez team for providing that. In addition, the Vasquez High School boys varsity basketball held its first annual Holiday Classic basketball tournament over winter break. Dr. Murphy's here. Would you mind coming up to the podium, sir, to recognize the Vasquez athletes at this time for Golden Spotlight?
Sure thing. We'll start with the women's cross country. The Mustang women's cross country team survived their season undefeated through 2021. As a result, they were awarded league champions and moved on to CIF prelims in November at Mount Sac in Walnut, California. Members of the squad developed a self-imposed, rugged schedule that required them that they begin practicing last summer with early morning runs on DHS's campus and at Vasquez Rocks. The team consists of the following varsity members. Marie Poppy, she's my kid, I should know that. Marie Poppy, Haley Rudd, Leilani McLaws, Isabella Galvez, Emily Hunanian, and Marina Costin. Women's cross country fiercely fought against many rivals in the Heritage League, which included Palmdale Aerospace, Faith Baptist, Desert Christian, and St. Monica. Noteworthy achievements thus far were Leilani McLaws, Marie Poppe, and Marina Costin were on the High Desert cross country team when competitive sports were first introduced. Together, they won the Silver League in middle school 2 years in a row before matriculating to Vasquez. VHS's women's top 3 CIF preliminary times were Marie Poppe at 15:31.3, coming in 21st out of 87 runners. Leilani McLaws at 15:42.8, coming in at 31st. and Haley Rudd at 15:45, 2, coming in at 32nd place. Vasquez High School and women's cross country want to especially thank Coach McKnight as he served countless hours supporting the team throughout his 4 years at VHS. Coach McKnight recently retired and we are indebted to his contribution.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. We also would like to invite up a special guest, Mr. Carlo Paseo, field representative from Office of Assemblyman Lakey, to recognize the VHS girls cross country team. Thank you for being here, sir.
It is it's my pleasure, and it's Assemblyman Tom Lakey's pleasure to recognize every high school athlete who excels in the district. Now, he's a firm believer that everyone every high school and junior high student participate in organized sports. It's a good part of developing the full student, the full citizen, the full character of every child. And as part of this, he loves to recognize league champions, and it's our pleasure to present the 6 individuals with individual certificates. They're right here. Are there any students here?
No students are here either.
Okay. I'm going to just take guesses. Emily? And notice I didn't try to pronounce your last name. Unanya.
They should stand in front with.
Isabella Galvez. Marie Papi. Anyway. This is it.
Go on up,
Marie
Marie.
Papi.
Crossing. Excuse me.
And Leilani McLaughlin. Thank you very much.
Can we get a picture with Carla?
Dear students, if you could stand right here at the dais so we can take a picture. Mr. Carlo Paseo, if you could be the honors as well, as Dr. Murphy and our board.
This is for the high
We
school.
also have their trophy for
The high
CIF.
school.
We need Coach
We have
McKnight.
Coach in the back there.
Is the coach here?
Coach McKnight?
You should come up.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Coach McKnight. Thank you, students. Thank you, Mr. Paseo and Dr. Murphy. In addition, our High Desert Boys Cross Country placed first in the Silver League. Our High Desert Girls team have placed first in 2019 and 20, but this is their first place win for the boys team for High Desert. Ms. Van Ornum, there she is. Would you mind coming up to the podium to recognize our High Desert athletes at this time for the Golden Spotlight along with Mr. Paseo? Thank you.
All right, so good evening, school board and superintendent and Yolanda and all of our audience. We are so happy today to present our High Desert boys cross country team. This is a first for us, for our boys to have placed within the top 3, so that's very exciting for us to have a really strong boys team. We are super proud of them. We had 3 walk-on coaches, actually parent volunteers. And so without them, this season would not have happened this year. So I would really like to thank them. Coach Molly Zorba is hiding back over there. Molly, come on up. There we go. And then Gisela Rivas, who could not be here tonight, and Coach Mari McLaws. So, and they're all pictured there. So we just really want to thank them for, at High Desert, all of our sports are volunteer coaches. We don't yet have stipends for them, and so they truly do give their all, and we are so excited to have them and happy that they are willing to spend their time. None of them had players on the team, so they did it just because they love running and they love the sport and they want the kids to be amazing. So thank you to all of you guys. And then, without further ado, we want to make sure that we recognize all of these awesome boys over there. Our boys.
Coaches, could you come stand up here, and then the athletes could join you, so all the everybody else, we really appreciate the hard work. Thank you.
So our boys finished, almost all of them finished within the top 40 out of 90 students. And we were competing against all of the schools. So for cross country, we don't just compete against small schools in the Silver League. We're competing against all the schools in the Tri-District League. So it's a big step up for us, and which makes it that much more competitive. And so when you see all 90 of those guys out there running together, it's quite the feat. So we are very, very proud of their success this year and their hard work. And so we want to go ahead and recognize them. Boys, as I call your name, if you could come up. Mr. Shane Prosser. Gavin Dawson.
Tom, you're in the way.
Michael Williams. Levi Klaus. Christopher Larson. Leonardo Rivas. Are there more boys standing over there?
Ben.
Pop out.
Ben.
Oh, there's Ben Hagum. So, boys who are...
I got more.
Oh, there's more. Come out, come out. They're being shy, sorry. So, Robbie Spears, Tommy Spears, and Sammy Red. So, and
Thank you very much for a wonderful season. You kids have done great. You're going to do better next year. Or some of you are going on to high school, of course. But we just have Assemblyman Tom Lackey would just love to recognize you all, and has a certificate here for each name. I did not catch all the names on the way up, so you're going to have to sort them out yourself. I'll give you the bundle in a couple of minutes, all right? Hold on. Thank you. Just grab one each for the photo, and we'll sort them as we go through, all right?
Double stack, one piece down.
Haley Rudd here is what I heard, and she is part of our winning Mustangs girls cross country team, who is undefeated so throughout 2021. So congratulations to Haley Rudd as well.
Is there any board member comments, Ms. Jensen?
I'll make my comments when we make our comments, but thank you to Tom Lackey's office for coming and recognizing me. I just want you to know, and you should leave, that I appreciate your time. And congratulations, what we have the parents here. Thanks for all your support, and what a wonderful evening. And Haley, it looks like you're coming from another game, so we appreciate all your participation in all sports. You were late for this one because you were doing something else, so thank you, Haley.
Thank you, student athletes. The cross country, I used to try to run cross country to stay in shape for hockey, and it was miserable for me, and I failed miserably. And it is something that is all about you, and it can be very lonely, and for you all to place. And just going out there with a very small team and seeing tons of athletes from another school can be daunting in and of itself. I appreciate your representation of this district, and I'm sure you all have wonderful grades as well.
Can I please jump in, because
No,
I thought
go ahead.
our volunteers left. So thank you so much for volunteering your time, and wow, thank you so much. We couldn't do it without you guys, so thank you so much. And just to have such a great season, and you can see it helps our high school as they move along. So thank you so much. Congratulations, boys, and very nice looking t-shirts. Good job.
Congratulations to all of the teams that were honored. So many familiar faces. Walking out from closed session and seeing all of the parent faces and the kid faces definitely brought a smile to my face. I miss you guys. So it was awesome that you guys could do what you do and then come and share that with us and really build our schools. When you go out into the valley, in the Antelope Valley, and you build our schools and you do great things and you put our little school on the map, you are doing amazing things for our little town out there in the big world. So thank you and congratulations on your accomplishments, and thank you to our volunteers. You guys are amazing.
Congratulations to the girls and the boys at both schools. I think it's great to see the enthusiasm and the amount of participation that we have going on, especially at High Desert. And it's great to see the community kind of coming together and supporting it and just rallying around behind our small schools. The coaches and volunteer, thank you so much for your time. It doesn't go unnoticed, and in a difficult time that we live in right now, for you to step out and be involved in these kids' life, it means a lot to them, it means a lot to the community, so thank you for that.
I want to thank Settlement Lackey's representative for coming here to recognize our student athletes and their accomplishments. And then hats off to the volunteer coaches. I know what it is to be a coach, and it's fun working with young athletes, and the fact that you have mostly 7th graders, if I heard that correct, Silver League's going to be a great thing for next year for the Hawks. So congratulations to all the athletes, because there's a direct connection to athletic involvement and academic success, and I really appreciate all your hard work and getting out there and running. Ms. Van Orn, thank you for doing all the leadership over there at High Desert, and Dr. Murphy over at Vasquez. Athletics coming out of this pandemic is going to be the thing that gets our kids back in the classroom and success, and we're looking forward to some more of that. Congratulations again. Number 7, correspondence, proposals, reports. AADUSD representative.
That go from 23 to 30 that are down to 7, 8. How do you teach new content to 8 kids and then leave behind 23? We have when I first started at Vasquez, we had 19 full-time teachers. We have 13 on staff. 1 quit, so now we have 12. The workload stays the same. Dr. Murphy's here in the house. I appreciate everything that man's doing. He is arriving at 6:45. I'm there. He's opening the front gate. I'm opening the back gate. He's the first person in the classroom. He's in the classroom teaching every single day, teaching an English class, on top of being principal. So it's not just Ada who's stepping up, but it's site representatives. It is not easy. If you talk to Ada members right now, they're so, we're blessed where we work, not going to lie to you. Most people enjoy being here. There's a lot of good things. Students are awesome. Families are awesome. A lot of challenges, but for the most part, small community, get to know students by name. A lot of good things that happen in our classrooms, and it keeps teachers coming back. But if you were to talk to them today, if you were to talk to the nurse is overwhelmed. I mean, go talk to her. Go up, just walk over there, walk in and just see what her day looks like for just 10 minutes. I can't imagine all the new mandates that come out weekly. You know, she has literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails, and I'm not exaggerating, that she has to send out daily. We wake up in the morning. Most teachers wake up in the morning. Most staff members wake up and we get an email that says we've been exposed. In my class this week, I had a classroom full of 4. You know, they're not very big classrooms. So every day we wake up and we're sitting there going, okay, are we really putting our health at risk here? And we are. And again, we're not asking for anything, but it's part of the drain. It's part of the weight that a lot of members carry. We had an AADUSD member quit. I mean, just mid-season, just quit. Never seen that before, ever. I know I've only been teaching for 10 years total and only 6 here at Vasquez. I've never seen that. It's very odd. We have AADUSD members who are sick. seriously sick. I'm not saying that I'm attributing it to the stress, not saying I'm attributing it to the job. This is just the reality that we face with every single day. On top of, now that we have less, we have to do more. We go from 19 to 13, and yet the workload stays the same, on top of COVID. And when you have staff members who are leaving, then we have to pick up the slack. Again, I'm not complaining. It's what we do. It's what teachers do. It's part of the job. It's part of the routine. The commitment level. There's no way you could question the commitment level of ADA right now. It breaks my heart that there's some families that are going through it. And I don't know. I have members every single day, and I'm not exaggerating, looking for sparks. Can you write me your letter of recommendation? The job, the profession is becoming more and more difficult. And this is affecting now our 3rd school year. We're coming up on 2 years come March 15th. And we're in the trenches every single day, dealing with it, trying to manage it, and yet we don't have enough resources. But to be honest with you, we do not have enough resources. I understand the financial predicament. I do. I understand that we are losing ADA. I understand that we are losing enrollment. But when you take a counseling staff and reduce it down, and then bring more mental health activities, programs to the table, you're requiring them to do more with less resources. I don't know if you talked to counseling today. It was a hard day for our counselors. A lot of mental health issues going on in all 3 schools. You should talk to them. You should get their perspective. You should see what they deal with. All day, all counseling was dealing with mental health issues. They still got other jobs to do. They still got other responsibilities. How do they catch up? Nurse Carrie, I know you brought in another help for her. She is overwhelmed. And you know what? She gets criticized more than any other person through this COVID fiasco. Parents are on her, staff is on her, district's on her. She feels isolated. She's just doing her job. And she's the point man on it. And she feels like she's taking all the arrows. And I'm not sitting here trying to come out tonight and say, woe is that. What I am trying to say is we're doing our best job. We really are. We go to work every single day and we serve our community, we serve our kids, and we do it exceptionally. Not 100% of us, but most of us. This is a calling, this is a lifestyle, this is who we are. And I hope that you see that. I hope you recognize that. I hope you don't think that we're here just slacking. Because that's the reputation that we hear a lot on social media, a lot in the community. It's the teacher's fault. It's the teacher's fault. I'll tell you what, the reason we're back on campus for the last 2 years is because of that. Because we went to it and said, hey, get us back on campus. This is what's best for our community. Love being here. I hope you recognize that we need resources, that we need help. And we see that we do have resources. We do. And I'm wondering if you're ever going to use those resources to really, really, really serve the community that you're hired to. Thank you.
Comfortable knowing what your parameters are, and they're very tight, believe me. And so, I just want to say, understand our role and what it is. Now, that said, there are a lot of boring things that we have to do and a lot of challenges. I will tell you this, when I first came and sat out here, here's what the agenda looked like. If you wanted to see the agenda for the board meeting, you drove to a district site, a school, the county library, or out here, and you looked at it through a glass and you took a picture of it. The agenda had no staff report, it had no warrant register, it had no personnel action report. If you wanted those things, you had to ask for them. And then sometimes I asked for things and I was met with an attorney letter from the administration at that time, spending your money to stop me from getting the information to inform myself about how to sit up here. I remember seeing things come up on the superintendent report. The superintendent might introduce something completely off the agenda, and then board members, some of them would say, hey, let's talk about that a little bit. Do I have a consensus about that? What do you think about that? One board member sat down at the end and refused to participate. Rest in peace, Larry Layton, because he knew it wasn't the right thing to do. We have come so far in just the agenda part of this since I joined this board, and I pushed and pushed and pushed and wrote nasty editorials and all that. Of course, I wasn't paid to write them, but we have come a very long, long ways. Now, the last piece of my puzzle was this. I said, I want the board meetings televised, which they're done. That's happened for quite some time now. But the problem is, if you can't be here, I don't expect you to sit up here. Remember, we are up here to do business that you don't have to do. And if you don't trust any of us to do that, then there's a huge issue. But I still want the board meetings available for people to view later. Now, there's two trains of thought. I come from the liberal end of that. Put everything out there. Everything I said last week, put it out there. Let it be part of the record. The California School Boards Association pushes the train of thought. Don't put anything out there more than you need to. Because what ends up happening is sometimes people years later take bits and pieces of things and concoct a puzzle together that's so far out of context you don't know what it means. I would hate to think you have news people that represent one thing and another in a collusionary concoction of, well, this is what this is. And there's only one way to prevent that from happening, and that's to load up your own content. You should never have a third party being dependent on your content that memorializes what your board has done. And you should not be afraid of people coming along like this, because if you're eloquent enough to explain it, you should be able to do that. Now, we have wanted to do this for quite some time, but there have been some problems. We all know what Zoom is. This meeting is running on a Zoom link tonight. I know what Zoom is from work. You guys know, you get that person at work that they're driving to work in a car late. They don't want anybody to know they're late, but they want everybody to say that they were in the meeting. So they click in and out of the meeting. Hey, it's Ken, it's Ken. There's Ken. Vote for Ken, there's Ken. I'm in the meeting. You get people that hijack chat rooms and make, that a mess and take distraction away from the business at hand. You get people that decide to hack into a meeting. How many of you remember that night that we had where the wonderful gentleman appeared on the screen? That is grossly inappropriate. There is no way that someone should be exposed to that. If that's a child's first glimpse at an adult, you can't have those kinds of things. So there have been all kinds of challenges come with using Zoom as a meeting link. How many of you think that attendees to a board meeting should be forced to sign in and have their identity known at the meeting? If you step up and you speak, that's one thing. If you choose to remain anonymous and you send something into the board and ask, could you read this anonymously? I've been known to read those letters. But there is nothing that says that you are required to sign in and have your name displayed on a screen or read into the public record. What happens on a Zoom meeting if I hit the wrong screen? Everybody who's in the room can see your name up there. The legal said, no, that's not appropriate. You can't do that. And so, data breaches, protection of the public's right to anonymity in attending board meetings have all been issues. This board jumped to board docs. This district jumped to the program called Board Docs a couple of years ago. And that is a very good platform to use for school board meetings because it forces you to populate the reports and everything. But the trade-off is that is run off the Zoom platform. Now we're back in this endless cyclical thing of we can't broadcast our meeting after the meeting takes place. So the IT guys, you know that they're working, trying to get messages out there, communicate the right emails to the right groups groups of people that Mr. Sparks is talking about, they're affected by this and this and this. You've got all these reports coming up. You have to populate this plan, that plan. The guys are running themselves ragged if they're not sick themselves sometimes. So I'm happy to announce tonight that finally we can right now pull up on that screen. Now, right now, I'm kind of sweating it because whatever's on the screen right there in the background when he shares screen is going to come up, and I hope it's not a list of the attendees of the board meeting. But is there a way you could pull up the district website live right now and show people how to access last week's board meeting? I like it that we're getting there this way.
Video, right?
Yes.
So you go to Board of Education, then Board Meeting Video.
Please click it. What you're seeing on the right there is videos.
Build your brand online with a beautiful logo. Just go to Wix Logo Maker.
But finally, we are able to broadcast and be in charge of our own, in control of our own content. When you leave the control of your historic content to third parties, you take what comes with that. And I will say this, and I will say this as delicately as possible. What I had to say last week, I think I made it very clear about why it's important to me that we escape the past, the dependencies of the past, whatever was going on in the past, and realize that this board is in charge of this person who is in charge of a lot of great things coming on quickly. And I would tell you that most of the people that have been here have been the same people for years. And I find it hard to believe that just because he walks in the door with an Armani suit on and is prettier than the last ones, that you guys all of a sudden hop too. Or that the gentleman back here running money goes and finds $2.2 million of legal money. Or that we have somebody that's not noisy that I have to beg to find out how this happens sitting over there. That I have principals that are dragging kids in here that are in volume that I worry about the structural weight of the floor. Congratulations. It took a long time for this board to get here. I sent a very strong message. Do not slander me in my community. I'm not going to take credit for the work of others, but do not slander me in my own community and expect that I will tolerate it. That said, let's move on to the part about third-party coverage of the board meetings. The first thing that I would suggest is, if you look at the coverage of the meeting by a third party last meeting, while my comments were being made, make sure that your mic is not live, because the comments you're making, might not want that. And I'm going to be gracious enough tonight to say that I'll make a call to the corporate office of that interest, and we'll work it out, and no one will ever know. We'll all do what we're going to do, but I'm done. Next, the part I talked about being in a Zoom meeting, if you're displaying the name of all the people who are attending the board meeting, the rules that govern you are no different than the rules that govern us. Please don't display the name of the attendees. Please don't click on them. Please don't show us who you're texting. And please turn the volume down so I can't hear the texts and things that are coming in. These are the kinds of things that create situations that cause people to take actions. Thanks. There's a gentleman and I, we don't see eye to eye, and I think you can probably figure out who one of them might be. But we drive down the road now, we wave at each other and exchange fond glances. Because what's in the past and the squabbles there and the positioning that's going on there and whatever you did or didn't do, that doesn't outweigh the kids walking in this room. I hope I don't have to revisit this because I'm ready to in a number of ways. I think y'all figured out why I've been going to law school for a couple of years now, but I so appreciate the people who have carried our stories, the people who present challenges to us in the press that say, hey, this district is going through this and this, and do that objectively and without a motive. So I'll blow a kiss to everybody, and hopefully we'll start tomorrow morning all over again. But don't rip Band-Aids off my face. If you come to the rodeo, make sure you get on the right bull. Brianna.
I would like to start by making comments to Mr. Sparks. I'm glad you stayed. I appreciate you having here. I love when you walk up to the podium and you have something positive to say. And as hard as everything is, you are always so positive. So on a personal level, I want to thank you for being the positive, uplifting, amazing person that you are. And I know that that transfers to your classroom, to your colleagues, and to your team that you coach. Your light shines bright, and I appreciate you. And I appreciate that you let everybody know that you appreciate us. So thank you, and thank you for being here week after week and giving even more than you have already given all day long and all week long and all month long. And we do see what Nurse Carrie is going through, and we see what our staff is going through. Some of us up here are living it as far as being on campuses and in there. So when I say I know what you're going through, I know what you're going through. I see it, I live it, and I feel it with you and all of your AADA colleagues and all of your CSEA colleagues and all of your students. So thank you for always bringing that to our attention, and don't let that fall, because everybody needs to see that. Everybody needs to know how difficult it is for our kids and our families and our staff. And just know that we appreciate every single person on every one of our campuses and everybody that is there supporting our kids' learning as very best they can in these ridiculously crazy times. Moving on, I love that you had our sports here for your golden spotlight, because I had planned on giving kudos to our sports teams. So I am in a position where I am out in the Antelope Valley, and I get to see, I get to work with different people that work with our schools here. So I was talking to somebody the other day about, random stuff, and he said, oh, by the way, I have to throw a compliment out to High Desert and Vasquez. They've got their stuff together out there, and we're talking about sports. High Desert sports, basically he said they're so easy to work with. They have their stuff together. They're always on time. They're always kind, and they're smart. They've got it. They make running sports out in Antelope Valley easy. And you guys, your sports have made a name for High Desert and for Acton Algodolce out just on the junior high level. And I know that the high school has done it too. But he's gone above and beyond, and he said that he really appreciates how well he can tell how well Vasquez works with High Desert and how Vasquez supports High Desert in the way that our junior high sports are welcome at Vasquez and how they share their facilities and how accommodating. And he complimented our beautiful facilities at Vasquez. So it was a huge compliment. I walked away, very proud of what Acton Algodolce has built with our sports, our facilities, and that is all kudos to all of you staff, admin, and volunteers that all work together, and our maintenance, everybody that works together in our sports. I just want to throw a huge shout out to all of you guys, and kudos and great job, and thank you for working to make our district be incredible and showing everybody else that we are incredible. We are small, but we are awesome. So thank you for shining that light out there in the whole Inall Valley with your amazing sports and being on top of everything. So good job. And that's all I have.
Good evening, everyone. Coach Sparks, thanks for staying. I thought you might drop us and walked out the door, and I was going to talk to the air again, but I'm glad that you came back. I totally understand where you're coming from, and the fact that you are trying to relay a message from your team, other teachers, and the overall feeling around the school and the district that you're involved in. I want you to know that it's not only within your world of the school and or this district. COVID is spreading out through the private sector and the public sector like nobody's business. Personally, I've been home for the last 12 days because I was exposed by somebody, and the corporate world doesn't want me to be at work. So even though I'm prepping 2 shows and I'm wrapping one out, and I work 80-hour weeks, and I'm still working 80-hour weeks in my bedroom as at my home office, I get it. It's tough. It stinks. It's miserable. I feel your pain. But as professionals, we do what we have to do to get our job done. And you guys are doing it. It's not easy. It's not pretty. It's not glamorous. But you guys show up every day. You teach your classes. The principals manage the schools. The superintendent manages the district. All the staff and support that comes around shows up and does their job. I 100% understand what you speak when you talk about Nurse Carrie. It's tough. I don't know how she processes everything that she has coming into her every day. I'm going to say it's impossible for her to actually totally grasp the entire totality of what's going on. I think there's just so much stuff coming that she's throwing stuff out, she's getting stuff in. It's overwhelming, it's stressful. I can sympathize with her, but we get up and we do our jobs, and we put one foot in front of the other when we march on. Until this pandemic slows down, until things get under control, until we realize that maybe it's not as severe as it was 2 years ago, and maybe we can kind of make some adjustments in society in general. Things are what they are. I don't even know that if we said we wanted to hire 10 teachers today, there's even 10 teachers to hire. There's such a labor shortage in the state. And it's not just teaching. It's in my sector of work. Try to find a guy that can drive a truck right now. It's impossible. Find a guy that can trim a tree correctly. It's probably impossible. It's hard. We are in unprecedented times. It's tough times. I 100% sympathize with you. And if I could throw a big box of money at it and make it all go away, I absolutely would. But the whole system is struggling. So I want you to understand it's not that we don't want to make things better. It's not that we don't want to give to the teachers. It's not that we don't want to give to our staff. It's just there's not a lot there right now to give. It's tough, man. And I'm just talking to you straight from man to man. No sugarcoating. I'm not sitting up here as a politician. We all know that I'm not that. But I want you to know that everybody on this board has the teachers, the staff, the district's back. We want the best for this district. Going forward, I'll say that I feel like since I've been part of this board, we're kind of at the best spot that I feel that we've been in since I started. I feel like finally the board is kind of together. I feel like our district office is great. I feel like we have a great superintendent. We have great assistant superintendents. We have awesome principals. I mean, in the beginning, I never saw the middle school principal or the high school principal at any of these meetings. They're ghosts. Now, I don't know if you guys are forced to be here. Maybe you are, or maybe you aren't. I don't think so. I think you genuinely care about this community and our schools. Michelle, you're doing awesome things. To see all the kids in here today, it was awesome just to see that many youth interested in actually getting out and getting physical and not wanting to hide behind a video game. For me, that spoke volumes about what High Desert's doing. Murphy, I hear every day epic things he's doing, whether it's from adults or from students or just being there. He may not even physically be doing something in general, but the fact that he shows up, he has a smile on his face, he has a goofy shirt or a sweatshirt on, or he shows up in a class and he teaches it, you know, it speaks volumes to kids. And I'm regurgitating this because it's coming from students that are around me. It's not something I'm making up or that I've necessarily witnessed, although I did witness him in class, right in the middle of kids, kind of doing a survey of the class or an evaluation. And it was awesome to see the principal right in the middle of 30 kids, listening, intent on what was going on. It's great. It's good stuff. Our district is coming around. Our schools are getting better. This man to our right, he's the head of it all. He doesn't have all the answers, but he's trying to work through it. He's trying to figure it out. He's listening to his staff. He's listening to his team. And I genuinely believe that he is making a lot of headway. I just wish COVID would go away for everybody. It would make everyone's life a lot better. I don't want to take up too much time. I don't want to become a kin. So what I will say is that I really hope that we can get past the bickering between you and our local news. I just want, let's do what's right for the kids. Let's do what's right for the community. It's not about one another. It's about a community and it's about our schools. So let's move forward. Let's keep the momentum we have going, and let's continue to make this district and our schools the best that are in the Antelope Valley or Santa Clarita for that matter. Thank you, Mrs. Van Orn, for being here. Dr. Murphy, thank you for staying late. Doctor and Doctor, thank you guys for being here. Doctor. Well, yeah. Doctor.
I think we're going to change it to PA, physician assistant, because you're not a doctor. I want to recognize first the one that's the most important to me, and that's the students and the student athletes. And Ms. Van Ornum, for years we tried to get more activity out of the high desert to have them, the Hawks, become Mustangs. And we didn't have the volunteerism, we didn't have the stipends for the coaches, and it went up and down, but over the last several years it's starting to come around. This year you've really taken it to another level, along with leadership from the athletic department at the high school, contributing, finding volunteer parents that can come in with coaching experience and put some contribution into the students to give them an outlet to succeed. And the results of tonight, and that you have 7th graders that are dominating the cross-country boys team. Look out, Silver Lake, High Desert Hawks are on the way, they're on the prowl. So the students are doing a great job. I want to make that first part. And then the other part tonight is, if I'm not mistaken, I said there's a basketball game tonight, and if I'm not mistaken, it's senior night for our boys basketball. I want to give a shout out to the seniors. I know it's been a tough basketball season. It's been canceled, it's been rescheduled, it's been dropped off, it's been postponed. And the team is down to like 5 or 6 players, and they're playing the whole time. And I know how important that is. As a small school, how challenging it can be, that everybody thinks that we're going to be the whipping kid, the big schools, and they want to come whoop us. And I recall playing Silver Valley one year, and I had 6 players on my bench basketball, and they had 12. And they subbed in for every 2 minutes. They were putting fresh bodies. I told the guys, I said, hey, we're just calling timeouts to give you a win. We're going to go out and win this game. And we struggled. We ended up winning it by 2 points. And it was all about the commitment that the kids put forth and the hard work that they wanted. So this is what starts at High Desert, transfers up to the high school, and that the students get that athletic involvement back. And so congratulations to Ms. Rudd for her work coming here out of her softball uniform when I read for practice, coming to work, and her cross-country endeavors. That's where it starts. And that's the fall sport that's going to start the season of every school year, along with football and girls volleyball, to get us going to get back to normal. Then I want to address what Mr. Sparks said. you come in here, you give us this, and you remind me, and it gives me heartburn because I know what my staff's going through. And I speak to this gentleman here, I almost said young man, but this gentleman over here about things that I see, because I know I've been in the classroom along with Ms. Jensen. She's been in the classroom. She understands. But we did not have the challenge that the staff has now. Nowhere close. I mean, I had 60 kids in my PE class, and that's nothing compared to what 9, 10, 12 kids and having all the COVID protocols that our staff's having to go for. But I am complimentary to staff for doing what we can do for our students by supporting our staff. And there's not one person on this board or any of these staff, from the PA over there to our assistant superintendent to Dr. Zahakian and all the other staff that's here, working to do whatever we can do for our staff, for all our teachers, all our classified staff, to give the students a safe opportunity to be back in the classroom to do their best. I work part-time for Cal State Bakersfield, and I'm engaging with young people who want to be teachers. And in my initial seminar each semester, I sit and I drill them. I say, why do you want to be a teacher? And every single one says the same thing. I want to be in support of my students. I want to make a difference. And I say, congratulations, because you're not going to make a lot of money. But you're going to have a rewarding career where you can implant on people how they can be better citizens in their lives. And then they're going to turn around and want to be teachers. And that's awesome. And so I go around and I visit the different districts around us, from Hart District to Antelope Valley District to Palmdale to West Side to Lancaster, and I see what each of these sites are doing for their staff. And I see a lot of not fake stuff, but a lot of flour going on because they have so much money compared to us. They're challenged just like we are, but they have greater resources. Their ADAs, how they go, these things. But then I come back and I spend time talking with Dr. Zahakian and pummeling, hey, what about this? What are we doing here? What are we doing about this? And I'm drawing on that as my responsibility as board president, but also as my commitment to the safety of our students and the staff that we work here. So, Mr. Sparks, you can convey without hesitation, with every fiber that you have, that this board supports every single employee of this district, from the classified new hire to our most senior tenured teacher, to each one of our staff management. These three individuals, Dr. Zahakian, Ms. Shaw, and Dr. Hassan, the pressure's on. We want to see what's going on. We want to make sure. Safety of our students, giving them educational opportunity, getting them back into the classroom, getting out on our athletic fields, having them drawn them back to our campuses, and then supporting the teachers what they can do. We're doing whatever we can. It's frustrating as all get out. I agonize because I'm a teacher, and I go back and I say, what would I do in this? What would I do? I'm constantly drilling myself in my head when I'm at home, and when I'm talking to my candidates at the different colleges, campuses around, from the Bakersfield, Cal State Bakersfield, I'm asking, what are you doing about it? How are you being creative? How are you looking out for the welfare of your students? Your district, your site gives you guidelines. What are you doing? Be creative. And that's because I had that experience here. The staff that we have here are creative. And they do sacrifice, and they are doing what they can, and I appreciate that very much. And there's no going down, hands down. Were I to have children, they'd be in this system. Unfortunately, I only had like 900 when I was teaching, so those were my kids. And that's the connection that you have with your athletes, what I had with mine, what all the teachers have with their classroom. It's not just another 3,000 student campus. It's a 285, a 385, whatever it is, where we get to know all these students on the first name basis. Hey, how you doing? Reading the body language about their safety and well-being, doing what we can do. Now, COVID's killing everybody. I mean, it's just absolutely devastating, so many things that we do. In the Department of Public Health reports, everything seems to be trending down, except we're on that high wave. We're here locally, we're still pretty high. We only dropped a couple of percentage points. And I go back and I address that. I said, how is that possible that we can't be dropping and plummeting 10 and 12 points like everybody else? And I look back and I say, well, I'm on the 40-yard line. I got to get in the end zone. I need to make sure that all of my players on the field and we're all on the same page. We're making do with what we have to get a job done. And I know that the teachers that you represent through ADA and the classified that Mr. Ortiz represents through CSEA are doing what they can. And you're identifying those individuals within your organizations that need a little bit of extra help, and they're collaborating with their colleagues and their peers to get it done so that our students are successful and that the welfare and the health of each one of our employees is protected. Have no doubt, as Chad said, we're doing what we can. If we can put money on it, we go find it somewhere to do it, but that isn't the solution. It's what we decide to do that's going to be the solution. How can we get better at what we do? I said at the last meeting, and I put it in terms of my coaching because that's where I get my best perspective. We've got 2 quarters to go before we get to the end of the school year. And then we've got 2 months to gear up and get ready for the next session. And I think that I'm optimistic and I'm feeling better, but I keep getting these percentage points and I go, we got to get on the other side of the mountain. I want to get to the cliff and let's drop down. And that's where we all working together. Taking teachable moments about the challenge of this pandemic and translating that so our students are not fearful and that our parents respect what we're doing, representing them in the best we can, taking care of their kids. Our parents have been very patient. From time to time, we have people come up and, get a little harsh with us. Okay, that's what it's all about. But at the top of the heap is students are first, adults are second. That's the way it's been my whole time teaching. I'll listen to the parents, but they come after I listen to their kids. I'm going to do what the kids want, because I know if I take care of the students, the parents are going to be satisfied. And that's the way we look at it. That's the way we try to get around. We are small enough that we can adapt to this. We're not so big a bureaucracy that we can't get this job done. I've mentioned that to Mr. Assad. I've mentioned that to Ms. Shaw. I've mentioned that to Dr. Sahakian. When they say, well, yeah, okay. My conversation, okay, I heard it, but let's move on. Had the same conversation with Ms. Malone. Talk to Dr. Murphy. Okay. What are we going to do? Encouraging them to think outside the box to keep moving forward and be creative as we can. And that's something that we can do, and I think you're being successful. I want to congratulate all of the staff for their hard work, the leadership at the site, Ms. Van Orden, the leadership at Vasquez, Dr. Murphy, and our new leader when we get that choice over at Meadowlark. The 3 of us working together to get into the end zone so our students can have success, and that's what it's all about. I'm done. Okay, number 9, consent agenda. Consent agenda will involve approval of consent items. It will be the minutes of the regular board meeting 1 January 13th, 2022, the warrant register, and D, a universal gift form, flat screen TV. Oh, hold on. I think we have an amendment here. Is this where we moved it up? That we have the amendment, we're going to have the presentation, we're going to move 10A. But we're going to do the consent agenda and then we're going to go to it? Correct. Okay, so do you have a motion to accept the consent?
President, I want to pull item D off the consent agenda for separate discussion, please.
Item D? Yes.
I'll move in items A through C.
Any objection to the amendment, board members?
Do I have a second to move in and vote on items A through C?
Chad will second. Chad will second.
Chad seconds. Call the question.
Kelly Jensen, aye.
Ballsgraf, aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Chad Walters, aye.
Tim Jorgensen, aye. 5-0 to the amendment. Consent agenda A, B, and C.
Can we pull up the form on the screen for the gift, please?
Item D, universal gift form, flat screen TV, and move to open, please.
I'll move.
Chad will second.
Ken moves. Chad seconds. Item D, universal
universal gift form donated by the Pelletier family. Thank you so much. For Vasquez High School, for the purpose of our coaches to view games and to support our student athletes. So thank you once again.
Can we scan down lower on the form, please? It appears to me that this is not a matter of board business, but the business has been conducted by ASB. I want to make sure that that's not confused. We don't do their business and they surely don't do ours. Now moving up to the top of the form. Pelletier family, from one arborist to another. I make my money with trees in a suit. You make your money doing the real work. And that money comes hard. I very much appreciate the Pelletier's family dedication and donation to this district.
Other board member discussion? Ms. Jensen?
So we don't have to vote on it, is that what you're saying?
No, I don't know that we have to vote on it. I don't see it as an action item.
Well, yeah, we got to approve it because it was part of the consent. Now it's a separate item.
Yes. Now we're calling for the vote?
No,
Or
just
making a
discussion.
motion? Okay.
Is there any discussion, Ms. Jensen?
No discussion. Thank you for the donation.
Brianna?
Yes, just thank you.
Okay. I have one question. What Ken brought up now, this is a donation to the Associated Student Body for the purpose of, I can't read the word, for VHS boys basketball room. Can you identify that room for me, please?
Teen.
It would be the men's coaches in the gym. I'm sorry. When you go into
In the varsity boys locker room?
That's correct.
Because it's separate from the PE locker room, it's that room there. Do we have the resources for that TV to be put in? I mean, is there? I know we got power in there, but I mean, is it gonna be just like video display for game replay or whatever? That's what I'm presuming it's going to be used for.
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to check where that room was. Thank you.
I would presume that through that, what was just said, which I'm actually wishing I hadn't heard. Is there a Title IX issue here? Thank you. We'll think about that later. Thank you.
Okay, hold on a second. So, since this is a separate donation, it's not something we are providing. It's a donation to the boys' basketball program.
Correct. It's been purposed to the boys basketball program. So
it's a gift in kind to a particular, so it's designated donation.
I can clear this up since I'm the senior board member here. If you're going to bring a gift to be recognized by the board, that gift would be to the Acton Aguadose Unified School District, then that's approved by the board. I certainly don't want to litter this discussion with audit findings from the past few years, but it's very important that ASB functions outside of the fiscal control of this district. So in order not to have this type of discussion in the future, if this is something that needs to be approved by the board, fill out the form, make the board the donator, and then we'll turn around and of course honor what they want.
thank you.
Okay, call the question.
There's still no vote.
It's a consent item that has to be approved. Do we pull it off the consent calendar? So we still have to approve it individually now?
I'll abstain.
Ms. Jensen?
Kelly Jensen, aye.
Brianna?
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Ken Walker, aye. Tim Jorgensen, aye. 4-1-0. 10A, modification agenda item. This was moved up from 11. VHS gym athletic cameras. Dr. Zahat.
Thank you, Mr. Jorgensen. Yes, we moved 11A up. There's going to be an overview of the VHS gym athletic cameras that will be presented by Dr. Murphy, VHS principal. Thank you.
Good evening. We wanted to provide you a little bit of a background on the cameras that are stationed both in the gym as well as on the football field. Just to provide a little bit of a historical context to this. As you're aware, during 2020, high school academic and athletic programs suffered greatly during the COVID pandemic. And as a result, measures are taken in order to reopen across the state and across the country for that matter. Schools went out of their way to try to find ways to get kids their athletics back. And in order to do that, they felt that they were looking for options on, as you're aware at the time, they weren't able to fully reopen. They weren't able to fully have all the fan base within the properties as at that time. VHS, like other schools, sought new ways to develop fundraising opportunities that both supported ASB and athletics. And schools across California were approached by NFHS Network, which is affiliated with CIF, in an effort to connect athletic competitions with remote spectators. NFHS Network is the sole source vendor of an automated broadcasting platform that broadcasts all NFHS member site associations within the U.S. California CIF is a member of this organization. Programs may support activities within the gym and on Jorgensen Field. On our next slide, you'll see a list. It's very tiny. There's approximately 42 statewide associations through their own internal athletic programs that subscribe to this sole program through NFHS and their appropriate athletic programs. Mr. Sparks here, he's the athletic director. He'll share a little bit of a background on the NFHS and Pixelot.
NFHS is the National Federation of High School Schools. They overrun and oversee sports across America. They're the ones who put out our rules for all the sports. CIF works in conjunction for them, so it's the National Federation. What is it? NFHS is a network. It's essentially what you're doing is you're streaming the live video. You pay for a service, monthly service or yearly service. It only works on the gym for girls basketball, boys basketball. It works on the upper field for girls soccer, boys soccer, and the football team. Subscription is over the course of first 3 years. All that money, all that subscription goes to the Pixelot system. It pays for the camera system and the installation of the system. After that 3-year time, we will split 50-50 the revenue that's generated from the subscription. It is a popular system. There's over 31,000 high schools that use it. All the Antelope Valley uses it. All the Hart schools use it. It's very popular. Students love it. It is an ability to, you can take your games, you can rewind it, you can see plays that you've done, and students like it quite a bit. That's what the system looks like, this camera looks like. It has, I guess, a 180-degree field. It's only focusing on the court itself. You'll see what a picture of it looks like. And it also focuses on the scoreboard as well. The camera system is completely free. It's 100% automated. We don't have any control over it 100%. It is turned on, it turns on when we give them a schedule of our games. They coordinate it with the computer system. It'll turn on 5 minutes before the game and it shuts off 5 minutes after the game. It is it's pretty high tech. I like it a lot.
The one cool thing about it, it's almost like the Terminator's movies, you know, where they sort of fix in on the ball and they just follow it. It's really great. Volleyball, it goes back and forth. Imagine tennis. You have some fast tennis. That thing is working pretty hard back and forth, back and forth. As you can see here's an actual snapshot of what it would look like here at the gym. It's rather high up, so you're able to get that's actually right in the middle of the court of it, right there with the volleyball. The components that are currently installed will provide support this way here. On the left at the stadium, as Sheldon described earlier, you have at the football stadium, it's going to support your at the stadium and then within your basketball gym. On the top on the right, you may or may not be able to see that, but we are able to check all the sports that we offer. We're able to provide coverage both on that football field as well as inside the gym. One thing I want to remind you again, this is a sole source vendor. They're the only ones that are affiliated with CIF. And additional considerations that we considered, Pixelot is free to the school. Huddle, which is an antiquated system, costs approximately $1,500 just for football alone, not considering all the other sports within the gym. As a form of fundraising, this program eliminates that cost. Pixelot, is, once again, is a sole vendor endorsed by CIF, and use of student volunteers and workers. If we were to go that route, it would be very difficult not only to film that same quality film, but to monitor where that ball is at all times and maintain the same features is nearly impossible. As you can see, imagine the hockey games with the green. If they didn't have that green puck going everywhere, you wouldn't be able to follow it. Filming and streaming may only be viewed by those who, with the links that are provided by families of student athletes. And signage indicating the public that they may be filmed will be posted in the near future. So what we're asking for is requesting that the board consider approving this program. I do have some student testimonials. What you're going to hear, they weren't able to be here. They have sporting events going on. So I've got my man here, Jacob Van Oren, who's going to read on their behalf all the various statements. You have some, it's pretty telling. Some of these kids have really benefited from this, and I'll reemphasize that after he speaks.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jacob Van Rono, and I'm a senior at Vasquez High School originally. Another student was going to speak to you this evening, however, he had a conflict. Instead, I'll be sharing student testimonies about actual experiences and benefits they have had encountered with sports cameras located in the gym and on the football field. Randy Schursell, a fellow senior, used this program to collect game film and to allow relatives who lived out of the state to watch her competitions. She also created a highlight reel that she plans to place with her yearbook photos when she graduates. Randy Sanchez, another senior, gained significant opportunities and benefits from these cameras as well. He too used this film to create game highlights. They were used in his college applications of the many universities that contacted him. Randy chose to go with Walla Walla University in Washington State. He was selected for the NAIA soccer scholarship. The game film was shared with the recruiters, and in fact, the film highlights, which was a key in him receiving an annual $15,000 scholarship. If Randy was here, he would share that he had benefited from these cameras. Another student's testament is from Bertie Villasenor, a junior at Vasquez High School. He said, "We are practicing 5 days a week. We are not practicing. The dedicated players are watching the games and learning from the pros. One of the ways that our team can become more competitive is by reviewing film. This is where the camera system is extremely important. I believe Vasquez High School must take this huge opportunity to continue with the camera system subscription for reasons. This is a great way for our family members to see their sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters that cannot attend the games in person, either due to COVID concerns, living too far away, working, or for any other reasons. When each family member signs up for the camera system subscription, they watch their own MVP live, enjoy the game or event while supporting Vasquez High School. Each team and organization that uses the gym, volleyball, basketball, cheerleading, or soccer practices, etc., can review the film and usually sees opportunities and how to improve and become more competitive, develop stronger skills in their positions as both athletes and teams." He also said the film never lies. Sometimes a player needs to see a mistake they are making rather than being told it's part of growth. Most important, ASB is always trying to raise more funds for our programs and advance our students. This is a perfect way our school can fundraise without the students sitting behind a table trying to sell candy bars. I've personally stood for countless hours in front of our local merchandise in heat, cold, wind, and even rain, trying to raise money for our school. This is one way we could help contribute to our student funds without our Mustangs students spending their own time trying to fund things. In closing, most of our students think it is a great idea to review tape to improve skills which will make us more competitive in sports, enhance our program, and hopefully increase enrollment. On behalf of Vasquez's varsity boys basketball team, we appreciate your time. Also, in my own personal experience, I've witnessed many of these benefits from these cameras. They have been used for team bonding activities as well as reviewing game film when we also go to our coach's house and we review the game film to identify our strengths and weaknesses. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, so you got to see a picture of what the camera looks like. It is a really slick camera, I'm gonna lie, and it can follow the balls, which is really nice. Randy, we're really proud of Randy. He, like I say, his scholarship that he's looking at is at minimum $15,000 a year, and that's based off of he received an injury, but prior to that, with those 2 games, that game film alone is what scored him that scholarship. So that was huge for him. Looking down the future with football, with soccer, volleyball, basketball, you've got a really cool, real classy, cool as a cucumber crew of basketball coaches who are all very tied into the concept of working with student athletes on getting them their scholarships and trying to help them get into their appropriate NEIA or Division 3, 2, 1 lost off scholarships. So with that, do you have any questions for us? Ms. Jessup?
I don't have any questions just because the presentation answered quite a few questions that I had, like, is the camera going to be on all the time? Because I heard a rumor it was, but you clarified that. Like how it's CIF is approving that. So
yeah,
that makes me feel
that's their baby.
So I just had some questions, so I feel much more comfortable because you did a great presentation answering some of those questions that I had. So thank you. And Jacob, thank you for sharing all of that as well.
Okay, so everybody nod your head yes. Okay, I'm assuming that we're approaching this from the tense that this is something that will happen.
We would request that you would approve this so that we may use it for our students.
Okay, I think I'll talk to the superintendent now. Please relax yourself. Thank you. So again, I am approaching this action with the tense that it is something that will happen. There we go. Now we're doing much better. So, do you remember when we discussed at the board meeting installation and update of cameras at High Desert, security cameras? We vetted a contract. I asked the same questions about 2 months ago about people coming onto our properties. Do they have errors and omissions insurance if they're designing something for us? Do they have professional liability insurance? Are their staff run through the vet Raptor system? While I'm there, if you're walking into a campus and you're not checking into the Vector system, I don't care, Raptor system, I don't care if you're the superintendent, scan your card every time. I do not want contractors touching a building that is DSA approved and making attachments to our buildings without an approved design, without the thing being competitively bid. I'm going to give you an example here. How many platforms are there like Zoom? Name a competitor. Exactly. Exactly. And how many times do staff have to interact with other staff from other districts in meetings and conferences and things where having the Zoom link is important, right? So I don't have a problem with sole source bidding. Does everyone understand purchasing in this district? Does everyone understand the sanctity of ASB operating without the influence of this board and vice versa? Okay. So I'm going to make the assumption that these people
to assure me that what happened in Norman, Oklahoma is not going to happen here. Does everyone know about Norman, Oklahoma? Someone sitting below a broadcast booth, I would assume that we might think about in the future installing one of these near the broadcast booth at Jorgensen. Would that be a fair assumption? And someone there made a racial slur that was broadcast all over. Now, of course, government officials go, it wasn't me, right? And so the director of athletics at Norman, Oklahoma, suggested that the attorney take action against these people. They said in their 17-page contract, I don't think I've seen their contract yet. I might like to see the contract that you put together after this board approves this tonight, maybe. But they have a really thick contract. I'd be interested in seeing our contract hold harmless. All the stuff I asked for of everybody who ever does any business, down to sports clubs that come in here, after school vendors, whatever. These people don't get any different treatment. I don't care who they are. If the Green Bay Packers use them, because the Green Bay Packers are losers now in my mind, even though I'm from Wisconsin. What a travesty. But, so this athletic director sent a letter to every athletic director in the state of Oklahoma asking them to cancel their contract with this very company. I wonder what Lexi, our attorney, says about that. I didn't hear anything because I think this was vetted through legal. Of course it was, there we go. But that's only stuff we see, right? Nothing to report. But here's my question. The kids at Meadowlark, the kids at High Desert, what do they get out of this? You'll figure that out in the future, just so there's equity amongst the students. What about grandma in Maine that's eating cat food because she can't afford her medication, that can't afford the subscription? How do we get grandma in Maine to get this streamed to her house so she can see her grandson or granddaughter? I'm sure someone will figure that out. I think we're dealing with a company that has a national reputation. I think that they kind of need people that will make decisions on whether the stuff is installed, and we offer the same protections. I mentioned a little bit earlier tonight about broadcasting things without people knowing that they're being recorded. I imagine legal will give you some advice as to how you would let people know that they're walking into the gym, that I'm not watching this person over here and noticing that their house is probably empty because the whole family is sitting there, so I stage a robbery. Just let people know through some common signage, and I think there's best practices in place. I appreciate you bringing this before the board, before you install anything, and that our contractors that come in are run through Raptor, and that people have their protections in place. So therefore, Mr. Van Ornum, thank you very much. You're a senior this year, right? Yeah. You should come back next year because I think there's an empty seat over there. Anyway, I'll support this, thank you.
My one question was already answered by your presentation, so I appreciate your thoroughness. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Sparks, and thank you, Jacob Van Ornum, for being so thorough. I appreciate your presentation.
Mr. Van Ornum, thank you for giving those insight students' feelings on the matter. I appreciate you standing up. It's not always easy. I'll kind of echo a lot of what Ken said. My biggest concern is, one, that we're vetting the contractor. If it's only a single person that's allowed to do it, great. Secondly, I want to make sure that we understand that the only people that should be signing for any of this stuff, in my mind, are really only two people in this room: the superintendent and our CFO over there. So hopefully going forward we understand that. But I do support the idea. I think it's great to get the kids on film. My question question about the filming was, John Blank,
In film highlights.
no, it was, signage. It wasn't about filming. Ken touched on it. We should have signage at the entrance of the gym for the basketball, volleyball, letting people know they're being filmed. And the same thing would go with the football field. I think that you should let the public know they're being filmed.
I'd even add, as they enter the property, would be a good spot.
So
covers everything.
that's all I have to say. Thank you for your presentation and your time tonight.
I have some detail. I went over the contract and I have some questions I need to clarify. So the systems are already, the camera's up in the gym and it's up at the football field. Correct? Correct? Cameras are up in the gym.
I already voted yes, thank you.
So, and for any activity that we give them a schedule, you check up on the list that somebody off campus turns that system on and off. We don't turn it off and on, correct?
It only works by the timestamp dates and times that you're planning to operate it.
That a representative of this company is controlling.
Correct.
Okay. Now, I'm disappointed in the presentation that says, oh, this is going to be a moneymaker for our students. They go, they don't get any money for 3 years. So there's no money for 3 years. I'm reading through the contract and it's like $10.99, $11 a month for 12 months. Well, my kid only plays for 2 months. Do I have to pay that extra time? Is that an annual fee? Is that a monthly fee? Is that a streaming service like I pay for it all? I get it gets charged to my credit card every month. For that contract, it says that it goes for 12 months.
Is that a rhetorical question or do you want the answer?
For the fee.
Yes, so that you can pay for it monthly. So if you have it for 2 months, you can pay for it.
And then you cancel at the end of your season. So it's seasonal. So that contract needs to be amended then. Okay?
Okay.
Now, so the use of this is they retain rights to display it to any venue, any market where they can make money off of that game. Correct? For this contract. They're taking pictures of our games, and I'll be honest with you, this is not designed for us. This is designed for the high achieving big school programs that everybody wants to watch. And so they market it around, so, oh, look at this, people can watch this game over here, even though they don't know anybody on the team. So we don't have any control who they display that to.
I think as long as they have, as it was displayed in there, this came from one of the websites, not the website, the email we received from the representative. If you could go back to maybe slide 3.
So any of those people that are signed up have access to their
My understanding
stock
is,
footage to watch games.
my understanding is you have to, if you want to watch a grandson,
I'm not talking about grandson, I'm talking about people that don't have any connection to the student athlete.
my understanding is in order to have access to what that film that's going
So
on.
it's limited to the people that we enroll to stream.
That's my understanding.
Then well, okay, I'll move on. So I have no debate whatsoever about parents, particularly in this COVID time, from another county, another state, wanting to watch their son or daughter, grandson, granddaughter, whatever, participate in basketball. I think it's absolutely fabulous. But this contract does not, I'm not satisfied, this contract gives us any control over who watches that. It's pretty open. It's their contract so that they can make money off of it, not us. That we don't get to say, well, don't show this to anybody else unless they're on our streaming. It's open to their market to display to whoever they want to display it to.
when you advertise that, you are advertising that from the school to the families. So yes, there could be abuse in terms of if I gave it to you and then you gave it to somebody who is not affiliated with our school.
I understand that, but that's not, Mr. Coach Parks, that's not what I'm asking. The point that I'm asking about is that this is a corporation that's in the business of making money. They want to sign up as many schools as possible to get them to sign up for this system, to stream it so that they can have it, and they will market it as, hey, look at, you can go watch 5 football games at one time if you sign up for it. They can watch all these games. So I'm concerned about.
Can I address that, please?
So just a moment. That I'm concerned about the control that we lose because they have control of the data we don't. It's not in our possession. It's not on our camera. It's not on our disk. It's not in-house. They have control over it. We have to go to them if we want it back. To get it back, we have to go through the computer, connect, and do all that stuff. Right?
I would disagree with that a little bit. Okay, so we as an organization control who we send out to our students. Hey, Mr. Jorgensen, here's the link to Pixelot. You want to sign up for our system?
You want me to sign up for basketball or
basketball?
Yes.
Okay. So we as a community inform you to do that. We're not sending that out to people in Maine. We're not selling it to people in Florida. Where is that company? That company is not.
That isn't what that contract says. The contract says that as long as anybody who is signed up for streaming has access to this library of data of film to watch. So let me speak for a coach perspective for a moment. You mentioned Huddle. We used Huddle for years because there was a built-in, in football, there's a built-in exchange. Every time you have a game, you exchange a couple of films. 2 games a week. Playoffs, you exchange 3. And we would take our pictures and we would show them what we wanted them to show for the competitive edge that we did. We'd say, here's my last 2 games, here's my last 2 games. This system, if they're signed up for it, and they're our league, of all our teams in our league are signed up, or we're signed up for it, they can watch every game that we play.
Correct.
And they can see every athlete that we have.
Correct.
As opposed to just getting the 2 that we are obligated to provide for them.
Okay. If you're looking at a competitive disadvantage.
That's from a competitive standpoint, from a coaching standpoint. Now, the point that I'm getting at here is that I'm in Mr. Van Orden's reading of the testimonials, I was led to believe that there have been some games that have been recorded by that system.
Correct.
And I thought you said that it was deactivated.
It was deactivated once we were told that it had to be activated. So that system started up, football games were going on during the season.
Let me know in this part.
So yes, so that system was turned on and we had access to that system. We didn't know there was a problem with the system. We thought we went through the right channels. Obviously we didn't. We learned the lesson. But that system was turned on and that students, yes, could have access. Parents had access to that when they bought it. And
so then they contact the company that has the data and they say, hey, I'd like to have copies of games A, B, C, and D.
No, they don't send it to you like that. You sign up, you're a Vasquez High School, you have a folder of games that are Vasquez High School.
Right.
You can pull those games up anytime. You're not asking.
So they're on your computer or whatever.
They're in your folder. So you sign up, it's in your subscription. In your subscription, you have different folders. You can have up to, I don't know how many games you have up there, but you have access to those games that in the past that we played 3 months ago, 2 months ago.
And that's all part of that streaming fee.
Correct.
So there's no additional cost to who crops it and makes the things that Mr. Van Ornen was talking about to send to coaches.
Yeah, I don't know if there's extra, like, that's the basic service where or you can go get a premium service.
Or you can just tell the coach from the college, hey, here's my games, you could sign up and watch this. They can do that.
Okay. If you gave me the link, yes.
Yeah.
So again, I mean, coach, I don't mean to be bad, we're not D1 here in the competitive, who the athletes are. And I think, we're doing it wrong. Having that system is not designed so much for coaches in terms of people scouting you. That's for students to have
another resource to advertise themselves. It's a resource for families who can't go to COVID, can't go for whatever reason. They have the ability to watch their child.
Right. Well, that part I think is fabulous. I mean, I think that there's no debate there that that's an asset to be able to provide that. It's the process of getting to that end that I have a lot of trouble with. The process about how it was initiated, what was the vetting, what was the review, access, all that stuff. I'm really troubled with that all that happened. That I don't know. I'm not satisfied that we have sufficient review of our exposure legal wise, as opposed to the use of the system without the notification to parents, to whoever wants to sign up. And I am still not satisfied and troubled with this fundraising thing, because that to me is like, okay, I can see about making funds and doing things. And I think one thing that Mr. Van Ornen brought up in there is that it caught my attention as a coach and ASB advisor and athletic director that there was the comment by one of the students that said, oh, we can raise money so that we don't have to raise money. And to me, that was one of my strongest team building processes, is when I got the team involved to raise money for the program. But that's kind of going by the wayside. This is going to take, people are thinking this is going to do it for me. And I have some concern about that.
I believe the spirit on that one was more about, here's another way we can do something.
That wasn't the way it was presented. But
that's unfortunate.
What you're saying. Yeah. Okay. I'm done. Mr. Falsgrove.
Yeah, do we have a copy of the contract that we can put on the screen right now?
I don't believe it was an attachment, no.
Okay, so I've got an idea. You notice I keep closing my ears when I hear anything that suggests that this is not a future project that involves the things I said. I think I'll call on you if the superintendent will call on you if your comment is needed. I very much respect what you gentlemen presented in the presentation, but please understand my role and the role of this gentleman. This gentleman is ultimately responsible for what you all do in terms of policy and administration. I heard everything Mr. Van Ornen said. I heard everything that Tim said. Whose game do you think you really want to see? You're going to want to see Poly Long Beach. You're going to want to see who won the state championship last year. That's whose game you're going to see. And that's what this allows you to do. If you're not wanting other coaches to spy on your teams and do play analysis to find out that Mr. Van Ornen needs to be guarded by 3 people, which leaves 2 other people wide open, that's what comes with this. That's my understanding. I've heard a request on my part, that we need to see what this company will do in terms of the contract we present to them. I don't see them being scared off by acting like adults. I really don't see that. I need to see that there's some provision that people are run through the Raptor system. People do not come on our campus. Mr. Wadsworth made a comment about contracting. I think we're really clear about that. Good. I don't think there was ill intent on something that couldn't have happened until it happens in the future, right? So what I'm going to suggest is we table this item and bring it back with a copy of the contract up there, in which I think you will see, if you subscribe to this, you can see the game in Maine. You can see whatever. Some people like watching high school sports. I remember when high school sports were televised, the championship games and stuff. So I'm not going to steer the other boards, but I'm going to make a move that we table this item until we come back with the contract protections that are required as normal process, until this can be put up here. And we'll just write this one off as a hearing and move quick to action next time. But please listen to the request from the board. Meet that in your update. I'll make the motion to table this to the next meeting where we can finally bring closure to this and support our students.
Can I ask Mr. Sparks one more question before we?
Of course.
So Mr. Sparks, here's exactly what happened seriously at 5 o'clock this evening at my house. My niece is a cheerleader in Santa Clarita. They have a basketball game. Our family was trying to get tickets. You have to buy tickets because of COVID, and they just don't let you show up. It's a sold-out game. So I could possibly get a link, if they have it there, for me and my family to subscribe. We wouldn't mind subscribing for the month to watch all my nieces cheer. I could come in and out like, hey, they're going to cheer. Now I'll pay attention because I don't really want to watch the basketball game. So I could purchase that possibly, and that's the way that we would share links, addressing as how other people get the links, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so here's an example of possibly a way that it would benefit my family. Okay, thank you.
I don't know that to be true. I don't know that to be true. What I do not want to be very clear with everybody here, I do not want a no vote coming off this board that sends a message to our students because we as adults can't do business in the proper order or display a contract on the screen that one of us is going to vote no for what Mr. Van Orn has told us he wants. That's what I'm trying to avoid here. It is my understanding that if I buy a subscription to this network, that I can watch Waupun Senior High School basketball game where I went to school as part of my subscription package.
No, you can own that subscription, that $10.99 a month is for basketball. That $70 a month is for a season of all basketball.
I can't, with all due respect, I cannot understand why this company, given the little number of subscriptions that would be sold against a bigger school, would even be interested in offering us equipment for free. I need clarification that that's to be true, and that is by displaying the contract on the screen. I personally don't see a problem if I want to subscribe and watch the hockey games where I went to school. I don't see a problem with that. It's kind of like looking at the NFL network that you would subscribe to and be able to see all the games with the right package. But I do want clarity on this. I will ask to be the last one to vote. If there's a no vote, I will abstain. I want 100% support of the students. And if there are some legal questions, so let's get those out of the way. Do we need to table this?
I have a quick question for Mr. Sparks. You mentioned that, so there's already been some fees collected and sent to the company for, you know who those individuals are.
Sorry, you understand.
You had a group of people that initially signed up for those first 2 or 3 games before. Has that money been refunded back to them?
We had no idea.
Because it went to the company, it's not here because it's part of that 3-year. Okay. Is there a second to Mr. Falstaff's?
I'll second that, please.
Seconded. Call the question on the amendment to table the item 10A for staff review.
Kelly Johnson, aye.
Falstaff, aye.
Brianna?
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Chad Watson, aye.
Jorgensen, aye.
Staff, please listen very carefully to the replay, which is now available to you via your own school system finally, and address the specific questions that the board members raised, display the contract on there, and I expect we'll move through this very quickly next time. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, moving on. 11, policy updates.
First read board bylaw.
President, I think we're on 10A.
Now we amended it, now we're going to
So 10A, first read of the board bylaw.
First read board bylaw BB 9150 student board members. Dr. Zahakian.
Mr. Jorgensen, yes, for BP 9150 student board members, CSBA, California School Board Association, there is some new recommendations in terms of language to be added to our existing board policy. Number one, what's required is to include at least one student on the board that we have. And it is at the discretion of the board to include more than one student board member. This is in the language. In addition, roles and responsibilities. Student board members are not considered to be members of the board for the purposes of the Brown Act. I'm just sharing new language per CSBA's recommendations. In addition, student board members to be appointed to subcommittees of the board in the same manner as board members if we do have subcommittees. In addition, student board members to be invited to attend functions of the board. Those are the recommended changes to BP 9150 per CSBA.
Board discussion, Ms. Jensen?
I just have one. Are we going, it says in here that we can have, we can adjust the term to give more students opportunity. Is that just in the board policy? We haven't discussed if that will happen in the future.
That's not in the board policy, in our board policy currently, but that's something that could be discussed. That's recommended for any school district.
I see, got you. Thank you I got it now, thank you.
Is so I understood this right. If there were subcommittees or liaison committees in this district, a student rep could be assigned to a liaison committee. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Does the student member have voting capacity?
Voting capacity on items except for closed session items.
So they would become a voter for everything we discuss. We need clarity on that, and we'll catch that when we vote. This is a first reading. That's what I have.
I just want to clarify, so we talked about this, Dr. Zaki, that the selection of the board of the student representative will be actually a choice of the students at the site.
That is correct. Correct. Voted by the students at the site. And if I may just go back to Mr. Fallsgraff's question, the student board member shall not be counted in determining a vote required to carry any measure before the board or whether a quorum is in attendance at a board meeting.
Okay.
Item 10B, first read board bylaw, BB 9320, meetings and notices, Dr. Dutton.
Thank you. There are no recommended changes to our existing board policy 9320, meetings and notices, except for the fact that in our existing board policy, Meadowlark is listed as the location for board meetings that needs to be updated for regular board meetings.
Board member discussion?
Yeah, I did a video series on how we moved into here, but I'll pass on that. Thank you.
No discussion.
I have nothing to add.
10C, first read board policy, BP 0420.42, charter school renewal, Dr. Zahakian.
Yes, sir. This is actually, this board policy is currently being reviewed by our Director of Charter Services, Ms. Shea, and with our legal, and as well as being reviewed by our charters via our Director of Charter Services. There are a couple of recommended changes per CSBA. If you could bear with me. A petition for the renewal of a charter that was originally granted by the County Board of Education on appeal after being denied by the district must be submitted directly to the county board. I'm just sharing information that is listed per CSB as recommendations that we do not have currently in our existing board policy. In addition, number 2, the following, there's some optional paragraphs for revisions for district timelines when it comes to charter petitions. Basically, the copy that was attached to our board agenda, many of the CSBA recommendations are not included in our existing board policy for charter school renewal. Hence, the review by our Director of Charter Services has been requested.
Board discussion?
I'm not sure, but am I correct that part of these changes are due to the lack of the dashboard and there aren't enough state testing? Is that part of that reason for some of the changes?
Some of the changes in general just happen based on changes to education code or assembly bills that have been introduced to the state of California. Just taking a look at the most updated revision by CSBA, some of the timelines that are listed per the CSBA recommendations for charter renewals are not listed in our existing board policy.
Thank you.
And my concern here is that the California School Boards Association is an association. The California Charter Schools Association is an association. And the California Charter Schools Development Center is a similar organization. So we know that the California School Boards Association is not a proponent of charter schools. We know that. And so what I have asked for in the background is that our charter, the charters that we authorize have the ability through a formal request of the district to supply input that we would consider before voting on this, and Shay is currently fully engaged in that. So I don't want to alienate people that are our charters. Again, there's no financial motivation. Is there? Your title keeps changing, Doctor. I don't know what to do, but we don't have a financial motive here, so I certainly don't want to alienate people by rubber stamping something that our charters don't have the ability to stand at the microphone if necessary and say, hey, here's kind of what this means to us, and here's how it would affect us. I think we're in partnerships with the ones that are left with us, and we are interested in that their students are receiving education and nothing more. So that said, I very much appreciate to hear those things before I vote on this. Thanks.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. 10D, first read administrative regulation AR 3515.6, criminal background check for contractors. Dr. Zahaki.
Yes, for the AR 3515.6, there is some amended language recommended by CSBA per AB 130 that require any entity that has a contract with the district to ensure that employees who interact with students outside of the immediate supervision and control of the student's parent guardians have a valid criminal record summary conducted. In addition, per AB 130, requirement for criminal records summary also applies to any individual operating as a sole proprietor who contracts with the district. Those are the two main changes that are recommended by CSBA for 3515.6.
Board discussion?
No discussion.
Hearing none. 10E, first read administrative regulation AR 4217.3, layoff rehire. Dr. Zahaki.
Sure, thank you. AR 4217.3. CSBA provides language on options. We have option 1 embedded already into our board policy. And I'm not going to read that verbatim, but it has to do with length of service is already embedded per CSBA language in our existing board AR. One change that has come down from the state. Currently in our policy, we have a April 29th permanent classified employee layoff timeline. That has been bumped to March 15th per CSBA. And that is the main changes for AR 4217.
Board discussion?
No discussion. I just noticed the date is on March 15th.
I would suggest that the board the board support me in requesting the superintendent invite the employee associations to speak on this at the final vote meeting and make sure that there's no surprises there. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Falgoff. If I could just quickly interject, CSBA recommends the review and the support of our Teachers Association as well as CSCA for this policy. Thank you.
I would just second what Ken said, so that's.
All right, 10F. First read, BPAR 5141.52, suicide prevention. Dr. Zahaki.
Yes, so for suicide prevention, quite a few changes that are required as a mandate per Education Code 215, requiring language to be added to elaborate on the type of training and professional development around suicide prevention for staff. In addition, the establishment of a district crisis intervention team with corresponding documentation and training is now required in the language. That is not in the board policy currently. And lastly, every 5 years, this board policy is required to be updated and reviewed and approved by the board. Thank you.
Board discussion.
I would, in the final read of this and before the vote, I would like an update to the board on, and of course we'll be sensible about it and sensitive and treat it as a subject needs to be about the gaggle system and if that has been effective. This is also something I need the input, or at least to know that the employee associations have been invited to freely discuss what impacts that these mandates being put on them will have. Thanks.
G, first read board policy and administrative regulation BP 6112-AR 6112, school day. Dr. Zaki.
Yes, there are quite a few changes that's being recommended. One, prior to implementing a block schedule, there needs to be consultation and communication with the community at large, and then at least one public hearing for which the board shall give an adequate notice to the employees and to the parents and guardians of the affected school with a block schedule initiation. That language we do not have currently in our board policy 6112. In addition, there are the additional languages currently are in place, except for block scheduling. There is an optional language that we don't currently have, which has to do with districts that maintain elementary schools and may be modified to reflect district practice. It has to do with instructional minutes for K through 6. There's recommended a language for that as well that we currently do not have.
Board discussion.
But just it's going to take a lot of communication, but this has been on the news for a while, so it shouldn't shock anybody that we do that. We make sure we have lots of meetings.
Is this the one that adjusts the start time of school day? Okay. I need a statement from legal, and of course this is back there, as to what limits we can use in exercising our freedoms as a rural district with the ability for this board to define local control. I need to know the extreme limits of that, in which we won't be sued by the state. Where I function, I refer sometimes to a California Supreme Court case in which I was named as a defendant. The decisive point in transmittal of the environmental impact report, the balloting of people, the circumventing of of public process and things were all refuted because a requirement of the commission I answer to that advises city council to the liaison is that at least 51% of the people who will be affected by what it is we're intending to do participate in this. I know in the past when there have been schedule changes, or even when the first day of school was going to occur, you would have some type of process that wasn't clearly defined prior to the process. As a consultant, I've done work for different governmental agencies, and when I was trying to define the extent of a problem and its solution, the means by which I would say this is the methodology on how we're going to assess this problem was known before the public outreach started. So in other words, I'm going to look at this and this. If you don't know what those things are, then they're this and this. And that type of thing would come before the board. So the methodology of who you will approach, the way they will, if you're going to use liaisons in the community, for example, say your site councils, what is the minimum amount of effort that you're going to give to bring back this board? And I will always be looking for 51% or more. And I think we're going to hear about this in the next board meeting about an item there or something that's going to the community now. But I don't want 10 people who become highly motivated and say staff supports this. That's part of this. I understand that. But I need to know that our students and our parents and people that are commuting and dropping the kid off here and there and everywhere are not being placed second to somebody who's trying to transport 100,000 kids down in Long Beach or something. Again, I want to know the limits, the very limits of what we can exercise, including completely ignoring this as a rural school district with a unique set of circumstances.
Nothing to add.
What is legal? Right. 10H, first read board policy administrative regulations, BP 6158 and AR 6158, independent study. Dr. Zahat.
Yes, so AR 6112, school day, that's where the language for the late start comes into play, actually. And it's outlined there very thoroughly, SB 328, in terms of the school day for middle school shall begin no earlier than 8 a.m. For the high school, no earlier than 8:30 a.m. So that language is a requirement per CSBA for AR 6112. In addition, what we don't have currently in our AR 6112, we need to add language about our transitional kindergarten, and there is language embedded in the CSBA sample for that.
So just to pique the interest there. So let's just talk, the late start means the late release, right? So we still have the instructional minutes that are required for the day. We're 7:40, 2:40, now we're going to be 8:30, 3:30.
Correct. We still have to adhere to the instructional minutes.
So that's okay.
Excuse me, I have an interruption. I have an interruption prompted by a gadfly. I move that we should extend the board meeting until 10:30.
Chad seconds it.
Call the question.
Kelly Jensen, aye.
Did you vote?
Kelly Jensen, aye.
Paul Jeff, aye.
I regretfully vote aye.
Chad Wadsworth, aye.
Tim Jorgensen, aye, 5-0. The meeting is extended to 10:30 p.m. So now we're on 10H, first read board policy administrative election, BP 6158, AR 6158, independent study.
Yes, sir. So I can make this easy for everybody. The language that we currently have in our board policy does not include any of the new bills, AB 130, which makes significant changes to independent study for this current academic calendar, for this school year only, requiring school districts and county offices of education to offer independent study as an educational option due to COVID and the pandemic. And AB 167 makes some key changes to the independent study, which outlines synchronous instruction, asynchronous instruction, and who qualifies for independent study. So all of that language per CSBA is not found in our BP 6158 and not in our AR 6158.
No discussion.
Any board discussion?
Would you say that this kind of eliminates the old K through 12 charter scam where you sign in for 3 minutes a day and then the charter school gets the funding and then there's, you know what I'm talking about? How would you know about that? Anyway, yeah, that's my concern. The kids on independent study are actually independent studying for at least 4 minutes a day. Thanks.
Did you have further discussion?
Nothing to
None?
add.
Business services. We moved that to 11. It's gone. 10.
I will move in 11B.
A second.
I don't have 11B on my amendment. 11B, got a motion to obsolete refrigerators. Do I have a motion?
I made the motion. And it was seconded by?
Me, Brianna.
Call the question.
Is there any discussion? Yes, there is. Facilities director, this is your baby, right? Were you the one that gave this the title obsolete when the more correct thing is exploded projectile-y? Is that the same refrigerator we're talking about? Okay, call the question.
Kelly Jensen, aye.
Wait a minute, hold on. Any further discussion?
No.
Call the question.
Kelly Jensen, aye.
Falls Graph, aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Chad Walter, aye.
Ben Jorgensen, aye. Thank you, Jim. All right, now we're on to 12, business services. Oh, it's changed here. Okay, it was changed to 12. That's what we just did. Okay. Calendar. All right, calendar. January 27th, 2020, regular board meeting of the Board of Trustees, calendar 13. The next regular board meeting will be on February 10th. Following board meeting will be on February 24th. Future agenda items? Board member have any future agenda items?
I move that we extend the board meeting till 12:30.
Motion died for lack of a second. Dr. Zahaki, do you have any thing for future agenda items?
I know per the board discussion to bring back the VHS cameras and the contract itself. That's what I have in my notes. In addition, per the recommendation of the board, to bring in a follow-up to GACO cases that tie into the suicide prevention administrative regulations. And then for going back to, I apologize, bringing CSCA and add a representation in terms of one of the board policies.
That they'd already voiced endorsement of that. Adam did that. You said that they already.
It will be vetted through them as well. To bring them off for the layoff, rehire regulation 4217. That's what I have.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Chad moves.
Second.
Chad? Second? Brianna? Call the question.
Kelly Jensen, aye.
Charles Graff, aye.
Brianna Texani, aye.
Chad Wadsworth, aye.
David Jorgensen, aye, 5-0. The meeting is adjourned at 10:03.
I knew that would happen.